So let's give a bit of time for the guests to tune in. Yeah, we are already live here. We are already on schedule, so we'll start soon. We are still digesting some news here. We had this morning apparently a major server down of the Google server, YouTube, Gmail, all down, and apparently even a sophisticated hacker attack to the United States of America, Pentagon, which is of course also filling a bit what we're gonna prophesy today, and also talk about today, because of course the cyber risk is increasing, major threat for companies, and now it becomes also in public attention that this is really a huge threat. And we will make a bit of chit chat until we start, because we still have people tuning in, our guests tuning in. So again, I'll start with to say a couple times welcome until we officially start. Again, we're digesting some news. Apparently, still unconfirmed 100%, but it seems that what we know so far is that Google server was down today at least an hour, YouTube, Gmail, and we know also that apparently it's confirmed that the Pentagon of the United States of America has been attacked by a sophisticated hacker team, probably, but we will check this. Cristiano, our cybersecurity expert, will give during the show an update. We're checking what's really going on here. But of course, it fits to our headline quite perfectly. So we didn't plan this. It's not us, not our friendly hacker team that did this. So, but timing could not be better to create awareness that this topic is really serious. Again, already pre-welcome. We start soon. We still have guests tuning in. We expect rounded up maybe 100 guests today. So we still give a bit of time, a bit of back-to-back meetings jumping in from other meetings. We have also a lot of participants from Europe today, so we give 2 more minutes, Patricia, okay? 2 more minutes to officially start. While we also use the time, our cybersecurity team here, Cristiano and Bastian, also from Europe, we're double checking some information. Apparently, still not 100% confirmed, but what we know so far is that Google has been down probably an hour or so, but as far as Gmail and YouTube is concerned, other major Google platforms. And we know also that the United States of America suffered a cyber attack, apparently even the Pentagon being involved with a sophisticated team, which of course gives a bit of weight to our headline today. We didn't plan it. It was not our team doing, not our friendly hacker team of Cristiano doing it, but apparently, somebody would to give us a message today that this is serious. So we are still waiting a bit here. I would say 1 more minute, Patricia, to officially start. Okay. So we're doing a bit of chit chat in the beginning. So basically, still unconfirmed. Again, for the newcomers here, United States of America had been under a hacker attack. Pentagon involved. Not clear what's really going on. Cristiano's double checking our cybersecurity team, and Google definitely was down for at least an hour. All major servers, YouTube, Gmail, which shows you how serious this business continuity matter in terms of cybersecurity and data protection really is. And with this, I think we can start, Patricia. Let's go into it. Let's go to the next slide, please. Warm welcome, everyone, to our event series that kicks off already the end of this year, will continue early next year. That has the broader context of basically business continuity in uncertain times, with of course a special focus today, data protection in the context of cybersecurity, which is now today again showing that all these prophecies that all companies one day will be hacked, like you see in this quote of the FBI director here, Robert Mueller, who said there's only 2 types of companies. those that have been already hacked, past tense, and those that will be future tense. And probably years ago, nobody would have taken this serious. Nowadays, it is, as a matter of fact, a major threat. If you talk to all my C-level or MD colleagues, they all have suffered already cyber attacks this year, mostly. And some of them were down 4 to 6 weeks without proper operation until they could restore everything and recover everything the way it should be, which shows us that this quote has very much truth. In this context, the World Economic Forum is pushing quite a while this topic of a so-called cyber pandemic. Klaus Schwab, Professor Klaus Schwab, is telling that even that pandemic that we experience right now, the COVID thing, is would be regarded as a little disturbance to what he calls will be a cyber pandemic, which has actually already started. I mean, just today we had a major server down of at least Google confirmed. We're confirming still the information and news coming in. Cristiano, our cybersecurity expert here in Sao Paulo, will double check the information during the show and give us an update. But what is confirmed is Google's server had been down at least 1 hour. YouTube, Gmail, all major platforms. And was also confirmed the United States of America were under attack, a sophisticated hacker attack, according to BBC, which involves even the Pentagon, which is the most, probably in terms of data protection, the most important part of the United States of America. Having that said, so this is serious. It's if you look at the bigger picture, please go to the next step. Look at the bigger picture. I borrowed a slide from our here great co-panelist today here, Bastian, from our team here in Germany. As far as cybersecurity is concerned, he had a great chart because it shows the bigger picture, how all this ties together. Data protection is basically an integral part of information security and cybersecurity. Okay, so you cannot see this is isolated. So data protection is if you don't have that defense in place, that Natya, our European expert, and our also colleagues here in Sao Paulo will give you an update. You don't have that defense clear. You have an open door, an open gate in terms of cybersecurity breaches. And then if you don't have that in control, your business continuity is at stake. That is what we're talking about. So it really, if you talk to the colleagues, again, in all C-level MD colleagues that I have contact with, all of them confirm that they have been on attack already. So it's a serious business. And the World Economic Forum made a survey that nowadays, and it was never the major concern, nowadays a cyber attack or even a cyber pandemic, like Klaus Schwab calls it, is a major threat to business's continuity in those uncertain times that we live in. Now, we have really a great panel today. We have that will be introduced by Patricia, colleagues from Europe and from Brazil, working integrated together, like is always our approach. We work always across the disciplines, across the countries to give you the best solutions that are possible. Of course, nothing is new under the sun. All this data protection regulation has been in place in Europe. We have plenty of very high-level projects there already that Natya and Bastian will explain you soon. But now enough pre-show, let's get into it. I would like to introduce our digital GRC manager, Patricia Barrett, who will be hosting the show for you today. GRC stands for Governance, Risk, Compliance. Also something that will get more weight because this is exactly what you see here on this chart: governance, risk, compliance. You need to have a strong control to defend yourself from all these threats, external shocks. And she will moderate the show. And again, I already looking forward to the next parts where we can see each other again. I wish you all happy holidays, after the show, please, and enjoy the web conference. And see you again with a bit of break, in January, where we're going to deep dive on all these topics. And again, Cristiano will give you an update on the hacker attacks later that happened today to the United States of America, to the Google server and other major servers that were down and attacked today. So the floor is yours, Patricia. Enjoy the web conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. During our event, all participants are automatically muted and not possible to share videos to ensure a stable stream. But we encourage you to ask questions to us via the question function, as we have foreseen around 10 or 15 minutes for Q&A and the end of our panel discussion. Now, it's my honor to hand on the word over Nadia Martini, one of our global key leaders in the area of data protection. Nadia is partner in Italy, head of data protection and responsible for DP, IP, and cyber team. Nadia, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patricia, and all for this opportunity. It's very nice for me to share some GDPR lessons, the law applicable in Europe and very, very close to the Brazilian one. And starting from the point that Philipp raised before. The point is that an hacking attack can happen always. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So when is happening an attack? Which could be the impact? Two main impacts we can raise. The first one is an impact on personal data. This means we need, of course, to keep in mind which are the main applicable laws helping us to protect this data. And the second impact is a cybersecurity impact, since some systems and, of course, websites as Google can be attacked. So we need also to deal with the output of an attack at a data protection point of view and at a cybersecurity point of view. Today, I'm focusing basically 15 minutes on the impact on personal data. What we have under a data protection perspective, two laws, basically. One is GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation applicable in Europe since 2016 and with its fines after 2018. GDPR replaces our mother law that was the Directive 95, which was the mother of all the local laws, including, for instance, the Italian one. I come from Italy, as Patricia told before. Basically, GDPR introduces massive changes, not only to the rules, the contract, the agreements, but basically to the approach. What GDPR is changing, and is exactly what your Brazilian law is changing, is the cultural approach to data protection. Data protection is not more the necessity to do the minimum to be in line with the law, but is and requires us to do the maximum. But which maximum? Next, Patricia, slide, please. The maximum is what we are required to do on the basis of what we are doing with data. So there is an extremely new change, since we are required by Brazilian law, as well GDPR law, to ask yourself, to ask myself, what am I doing with data? How, what I would like to do with personal data in my organization? How am I going to protect this data? I need to ask myself. I don't need to ask the law only. I need to evaluate my belly, to evaluate what I'm doing with data. And on this basis, that in technical words is assessment, I am able to evaluate and adopt also the very best technical and organizational measures necessary to avoid a cyber attack, for instance, in the case of Google. And if we are able to demonstrate that we thought of what we are going to do with personal data and what we are going to do with the systems, if we are able to demonstrate that we found some solution, technical and organizational measure to protect personal data or systems at a cybersecurity point of view, we comply with the accountability principle. That is the principle that may raise sanctions in Europe up to 4% of annual turnover, and in Brazil up to 2% of annual turnover. So the accountability principle is our goal. How to avoid the cybersecurity attack through accountability principle. And what is accountability? What could be? I tried to simplify myself first, and you also what accountability could be. Accountability can be analyzed through 6 different streams. I have, under a data protection point of view, in a GDPR and in Brazilian law as well, it is completely identical. If first I am processing personal data in a licit way, I am carrying out some processing activities that are licit or not. First, this is the very first question. Secondly, if the answer is yes, of course, it has to be yes. I provide a privacy notice to my data subject and inform them how I am processing personal data. I limit the purposes of collection. That is, if I am, for instance, processing personal data for service reason and contractual reason, I can't use data for marketing purposes if I don't collect consent or if I don't ask authorization to the data subject. I need also to focus on data minimization, that is, process less data than possible. This is what your and my law requires. Store data for a limited time. This is very helpful to avoid the cybersecurity attack, or better, the impact of a cybersecurity attack. Less I maintain, less I store, less I have the risk of processing operation. Keep data accurate, that is up to date. This is a very technical point that my colleague after me will solve at a cybersecurity level. And at the end of the day, least but not last, integrity and confidentiality. Please store your data, protect your data through technical and organizational measures adequate to the level of risk. So we are required under GDPR law and under Brazilian law to evaluate the risk, ask ourselves what we are doing with data, and on this basis, evaluate the technical and organizational measures to be taken. This is exactly the same process that we and you have, so we can work together to, of course, increase our knowledge and our both expertise. And so what are, if they are, the main differences between GDPR law, my favorite one, and Brazilian law, your favorite one? First of all, your law that entered into force last September, and with the fines will be applicable from August, exactly the same process from GDPR, entered into force in 2016 and with the fines in 2018. Your law asked first build up a new national data protection authority. We know that you are ongoing on this topic, and our colleague will explain later on. Regulates the processing of personal data of individuals, exactly as GDPR law. Regulates the data transfer of data that has to be protected, and regulates the exercise of data subject rights. Among the technical and organizational measures, ask us to carry on a privacy and risk assessment that I will explain shortly, and to adopt some measures from, for instance, the assessment reports up to some contracts, clauses, documents, DPO, data processing, data protection officer appointment, and technical and cybersecurity measures. So exactly the same approach of GDPR. So your goal is our goal, accountability. And if we go to the next slides and focus on the main obligation, we prepared with you two short summary of what Brazilian GDPR law asks. So if you are a company, for instance, that you have premises in Europe and already implemented the GDPR, you can learn from them that implementation and implement in Brazil. If you are doing implementation in Brazil and you need to go to GDPR, you can make efficiency from the implementation in Brazil because it's almost the same of GDPR. Which are the main obligation? First, you have to adopt a record of processing activities. That is a photograph of what you are doing with data. Without a record processing activities, we can't do anything. We can't have details of risk assessment and privacy impact assessment. That is the second mandatory obligation. So evaluate the risk. Why? Because we need, on the basis of the risk, to evaluate the solution, the technical and organizational measures. You are required to, in some cases, to appoint a data protection officer, as exactly in GDPR, to adopt technical and organizational measures, for instance, data breach notification to the authority. And you have, in the next slides, also the details of data subject rights that are almost the same as GDPR, and the sanctions, up to 2% for Brazilian law, up to 4% for GDPR, more or less the same. The main topics is that we need to assess our situation, understand our risk, adopt solution. And these are the three main points on which our, in Rödl and partner worldwide, process of GDPR, data protection, Brazilian law, and cybersecurity is based. So just 2 words relating to our method of accountability approach, and I can then leave the floor to my colleagues and to your questions. When we are approaching data protection and cybersecurity in general, we need to evaluate the risk, as I told before, and to adopt the adequate measures to reduce the risk. This is a very important point raising, for instance, from a cybersecurity attack. This is the reason why we designed a method that we have been implementing for 20 years, starting from the first European law and moving to GDPR, and now implementing worldwide. And you can see that this our method is split in 3 main phases. The next slide, please. Starting from risk assessment, moving to remediation, and moving as well to monitoring activities. When we are focusing on a data protection cybersecurity approach, we need first to analyze ourselves, risk assessment, take a photograph of what we are, see if we have some point we need to amend to the photograph, make a Photoshop, and after a Photoshop, we can start with remediation. We can see which are the main points of attention where we need to work on, and where we can identify some technical and organizational measures that could be enforce our protection of personal data. When we have implemented also the remediation for our process, we need to monitor that all the solutions, technical, cybersecurity, and organizational, are adequate. This is the reason why we are presenting now to you our 3 main points of process. In the next slides, we are focusing on assessment phase. Just to be short, we ask ourselves the risk and the impact at a data protection point of view, at a cybersecurity point of view, of what we are doing with data. We start with you. We always work with business, of course, in your company, not without or outside the company. We start with the data mapping, see what you are doing with data. We understand with you what you would like to do with data, because data protection is a business opportunity first, not only a compliance action. Then we analyze together with you the documents we have in place to see if we need to update the contract, to update the privacy notice, to update something else. We listen to you. We always listen to you in order to see if and what you are doing in your processing operation, marketing areas, for instance, or cybersecurity one. We assist you with my colleagues, Cristiano and all the other colleagues in the system assessment. So we see, of course, also the systems you are using. We see if they are accurate, if they are protected. And if not, we suggest you some adequate technical measures that my colleague will explain later on. At the end of the risk assessment, we have finalized with you a report listing in the details all the gaps, all the points that could be amended. And together with you, we can evaluate the remediation action. So we move to the second phase. In the second phase, we set with you the main point of attention where we need to work with you. We, of course, review documents, contract, etc. We implement also the technical measures that we agreed together. And we design also the third phase, the monitoring phase. That is the most important phase where we need to keep everything up to date and efficient and useful for you, because change is always happening, things always change, and we need to maintain all the GDPR, all the Brazilian law, all the cybersecurity process up to date. This is what is our method that, of course, is based on our GDPR and privacy experience in Europe, but basically very, very similar to yours. The reason, and we can move to the next slides, of course. The goal is that we need to keep in place a data protection and cybersecurity process starting from the plan. We need to keep evidence of what we are planning. We move to the doing. We need, of course, to act to implement the very best solution. Check if everything is working well or not, and if not, act in order to mitigate the risk. This is the circular approach of what data protection is in your country, in my country, and what cybersecurity, of course, is as well. And I close, of course, because probably I'm running too much. Why are we going to suggest a method? Because this matter is not a matter for legal expert only. It's not a matter for compliance officer only. It's not a matter for cybersecurity only. We simply have, and simply is not the correct word because it's not simple at all, but we have to work together in order to avoid or mitigate the risk of cyber attack or to protect our data. And we can't think as lawyers only, compliance officer only, cybersecurity only. We need to work together. This means we need a method based on ISO standard, international standard set by GDPR, set by Brazilian law, set by cybersecurity. And all these standard, international standard applicable all over the world are the basement of our method. And 7 reasons why to comply with your Brazilian law and with the GDPR as well if you are based in Europe. First, compliance. We need to avoid, of course, fine and sanction. This is the first goal of our activity, but don't limit to sanctions. Think that through the compliance with the privacy law in your country, you can raise some more money from your data set. Data set and collection of data could help you to improve your marketing strategies, to improve your profiling activities, to have competitive advantages and reputational value, why not, in your country, to become an ethical company if you like it, or to increase the trust from the clients. And of course, at last but not at least, to grant safety of data and strategical assets. These are the main reasons we have been collecting for years in Europe, and that the companies really, really like, because they understand that first, data protection is a matter of business, not only of compliance. Of course, compliance is important. So the last slide of my presentation is relating to some sanctions. Next slide, please. Only a few that we are facing in Europe. I don't want to show the slides to increase the fear of what privacy is, but to give you an opportunity. A few days ago, Google, and I didn't jot down this point in the slides because it happened, Patricia, a few days ago, but the point is that Google and Amazon were sanctioned up to 100,000 million euros for cookies that were not collected very well and lack of consent first. So very high sanctions. We have a lot of other sanctions, basically the one to British Airways or the one to Marriott International or Telecom in Italy. And we have a lot of other of them where the authority are fining up to more or less 100 million euros for having not adopted adequate technical and organizational measures. This is the main point of attention from the authorities. This is the point of accountability. So if we try to learn something from this sanction, the main point we can learn is how to comply with the accountability principle. And I think my experience that this could be very, very interesting also for you, for your design, for your activities to increase data protection in Brazil, but basically also cybersecurity. So on this, I leave the floor again to Patricia and to your question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadia, for this excellent explanation about data protection and how we, as Rödl partner, as one firm, as you all know, has been helping our clients. I know we have all strict agendas, and I know you have one today really strict, but since our Q&A, we have already one question focused on your part, so I would like to do the question right now to use your time here too. The first question received from our audience is, how adept are the companies in Europe with the data protection law? In average, did they take too much time to implement it?
Very good question. I have to answer in that way. We have a different situation, depends on the dimension, I would say, the size of the company. They normally started in 2016, 2017, more or less. Remember that Gdpr entered into force in 2018 with its sanctions. These companies completed the assessment phase, of course, before the entry into force of Gdpr. So my suggestion to you is start with the assessment phase as up. Then they focused in 2019, more or less, on remediation actions. So evaluate exactly which measures to be implemented. They draft a very detailed plan of actions. Of course, it's a matter of money, it's a matter of time, it's a matter of resources. So we would like, but we can't do everything in the same moment. This is the reason why we suggested the client to have the remediation plan in place, not all the solution in place in 2018, 2019. Then now in 2020, they are focusing on monitoring activities to see if they are in line or if they need some other actions. To answer to you, I think that you can start from assessment and remediation, and you need to keep in mind that you will have to work on that always and forever. It's a process, so it's something that doesn't end. But you, of course, can review year by year what you have done. Basically, the companies are now in remediation and implementation phase in 2020, 2021. I hope I answered.
Great answer, Nadia. It makes clear that LGPD as focused on GDPR implementation in Europe is not going to be something to be done in 1 month, but a continuous implementation and working inside house to make sure the compliance is maintained through the years afterwards. Nadia, I have just one more question. I will put this question for our public. It's a poll question, so you're going to see in your screen that you can choose the answer. So let's see, how is your company prepared for the LGPD or GDPR based on this new law that came into force? Just a few more seconds. And I think right now I can close it and send for you guys, because it's really impressed actually. So now I think you can see now the result of the questions, and it shows. I would like your comments on it too, Nadia, since it seems like part of our participants consider themselves yes, totally ready for the LGPD or GDPR process, or they are in the phase of process of implementation it, and we haven't even started the process yet.
I think it's a nice result. I would like to speak with whom said yes totally. I think we could be a little bit too much optimistic, since a process is always a process. This means that we can be prepared, of course we can be, but that the third phase of monitoring is always ongoing. This, I normally set this point as not totally. Since it's ongoing, something can change. Maybe tomorrow my business start a new business activities. Why not? We like new opportunities. This is the reason why I would say that assessment and remediation could be fine and completed, but the monitoring phase could always change and always raise new opportunities that raise new assessment, new remediation, new monitoring as well. But of course, it's a great output, Patricia, I would say, from the audience. Very nice.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Nadia. And as we see strong data protection law in Europe, we can only expect the same scenario in Brazil. But until now, we are facing some strong dilemmas. Vinicius Soares is a partner lawyer of one of the most respectful law firms in Brazil. Vinicius is responsible for the remediation and implementation phases of the data protection in our clients. Vinicius, welcome. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Patricia. Can you hear me well? Perfect, that's good. Okay, just a little bit of testing. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor as well. It's challenging, but it's also very interesting to speak after Nadia, after she gave a very good background of the GDPR and also of the LGPD as well. She dived a little bit into the LGPD, but I think it was not, I understand it was not very hard, since we have many points of connection between the GDPR and the LGPD. We are, as a Brazilian legal culture, we are used to transplants, and the GDPR is one more example of a tropicalization and transplants of best practice that have been implemented in Europe. So there will be a lot of connection between the professionals which have already implemented the compliance programs, the data protection compliance programs in Europe, and the programs which will start taking place in Brazil, or some companies which are already in the process of implementation of LGPD compliance program. Regarding the poll here, you know, it was interesting because they asked if the company was, if the companies were in compliance or with the GDPR or LGPD. My guess here is that most of them are really compliant with the GDPR, and a subsidiary or a specific activity in Brazil is still an ongoing process in the compliance with the LGPD. That's an educated guess based on our experience over here. Based in the projects that we have developed so far, we have identified some dilemmas regarding the law, because we are only, the law is 2 years old. It was enacted in 2018. The law is binding as from September, and well, it's well known that we are in the middle of a pandemic, so I understand the government, the Brazilian government and companies have very challenging obstacles to overcome during this year, and having the enactment of the Gdpr, LGPD in September was actually a great surprise. Okay, not necessarily a good one, but a great surprise. The good news is that the power to impose fines, or to audit, or to impose sanctions in the controllers will be effective as from August 2021. Okay, so that's the good news. Let's make it as a trial phases of the LGPD. Even though, let me give you a little bit of Brazilian background. We are somehow a litigation culture, and we are somehow a sanction culture. So meaning that even though the authority is not yet implemented, I will talk a little bit about that, fully implemented, there are already a number of watchdogs which are referring to the LGPD in order to impose fines, in order to investigate if the companies are in compliance with the law. So it's been a while. The law has not yet been regulated by the competent authority, which is what we call the ANPD. Okay, a little bit more of background. The authority is composed of 5 directors. They have been appointed. They are in office for only 1 month, and the authority will also be composed of 35 employees. Okay, that's already regulated by the law, and such employees are being appointed right now. So imagine, how can I say, the level of the challenge that they will have to that's imposed to the authority. And if we go into the law, into the LGPD, it's interesting because from 25 to 30 articles of the law refers to an infra-legal regulation of the authority. Okay, so based on this huge challenge of the authority, what can we expect? What we can expect that will happen in within next year. Okay, my guess, and we can talk about that in a year to see if my guess is accurate or not, is that they will refer to best practice, which are best and consolidated practice, and by that we mean, just like basically the GDPR. My idea is that we will continue working the infra-legal legislation with transplants, and also with something that we are using in Brazil with what we call tropicalization. We get the law from Europe, we see the Brazilian context of data protection, and we adapt it to Brazil. But I think the main framework, the main ideas, the principles are based in the GDPR. What is good news? Because we can count on the experience of professionals which are working with such programs for 4 years in order to implement a process in Brazil. So going a little bit now into the dilemmas, in the 4 dilemmas. The first one that's this has been taking place during the project, because I have been facing such situations, and it's really interesting to try to guess what will be the best practice within a year or within 2 years. Okay. The first one relates to the DPIA, or Data Protection Impact Assessment. Okay, and it's interesting that you can go to the next slide, Patricia, please. Going into the legislation, can you come back one? Sorry. Okay, and one more, come back one more. Yeah, first, thank you, Patricia. The Brazilian authority, they will create regulations to specify which processing operations require actually a DPIA. Okay, you see that they refer to the future. You know, they shall create, they will create. However, the law is not very clear yet about when a DPIA is required. And the most interesting thing, they are not the authority, but other agencies are already entitled, for example, to request a DPIA for a controller to provide evidence that he is in compliance with the LGPD. So, in one side, we don't know when we will need to issue a DPIA during the project. In the other side, the law already specifies an obligation to have a DPIA. So I have a little bit of hints here in order to answer this question, okay? And my hints or my idea here is that according to Section 37 of our law, we need to keep records of all processing activities, okay? And by all processing activities, we mean even the ones which are data sensitive and the ones which are not data sensitive. And there is also a definition, interestingly, there is a definition of a DPIA in our law, you know, that's a process that could generate risks to civil liberties and fundamental rights. Now, taking into consideration that most likely the authority will make some sort of ex-post analysis, you know, they will probably come to the company in case there is a data security incident. It's very important to have all process, all data treatment process mapped, and for those processes which are not risky, I would say at least list the process, list which are the mitigation measures, technical and organizational mitigation measures you have implemented, and only when we are really talking about a high risk, we should actually go a little bit, you know, a little bit deeper into the analysis and create the DPIA. Okay. However, it's really interesting to have, since the law states that we need to have a description of all processing activities, the first phase mentioned by Nadia, which is the data mapping, is very important also under Brazilian law. Okay. That's actually our first dilemma. Thank you, Patricia. The second one, which is perfect. And the second one is really interesting as well, because a number of companies which are implementing the LGPD are companies which are controlled by a subsidiary in Europe. That's probably a number of cases of our audience here. It's implemented over there. However, the operations in Brazil are still maybe it's not a very robust operation. In the law now, comes the tricky thing about Brazil. The law states that every company will need to appoint a DPIA, except in cases where our national authority declares and regulates that it will not be necessary. Well, as I have been saying those 5 minutes over here, we do not have an authority in place. The authority has not yet started regulating any of the law, and mostly this way, let's keep it like a waiver of a DPO is not yet implemented, meaning all companies must have a DPO. Well, can you go to the next slide, Patricia? Okay, perfect. Then we have the question: which companies are obligated to appoint a DPO? Well, one more time, I think we have some hints, and I think we have some recommendations as well. I think the first hint is related to what is mentioned in the GDPR. So, for example, if your core activity requires a large-scale, regular, and systematic monitoring of individuals, then it's recommended to have a DPO. If your core activity will consist of large-scale processing of special categories of data, and sensitive data is defined in the Brazilian law, then it is important to have a DPO. So we are here. We are in the process of implementation. Maybe the company does not have a very great, very robust structure in Brazil, and then we need to think about a DPO while the law is not detailed. Well, what to do? What could be an intermediate solution right now? Well, the first thing is, let's make a complete analysis of the activity of the company. Is it data incentive? What is the size of the company? What is the revenue of the company? What are we talking about? A small company in Brazil, which is actually a office representation of the company in Europe, or are we talking about actually a business operation in Brazil? How many employees do you have in Brazil? You know, all those questions are important to for analysis. If it will be, for example, we can imagine if your company will be bound to have a DPO or not. And it's important also to think that having a DPO is not only for complying with our authorities. Okay, Nadia has explained very well the benefits of being compliant, and having a DPO and having a process implemented and a person which will be in charge of this process can bring many benefits to the company, mostly if you deal with data. Getting into a little bit into the fear section here that Nadia mentioned, in Brazil there are fines, and some sanction is either blocking or exclusion of treating personal data or processing personal data. So if really there's a mishandling of such data, you even cannot, the government will be able to block the access or to block the processing of the data, which can be really problematic, really crisis or really problematic for a company. And then my question is, what to do right now? One of the possibilities while waiting for the law is what we can call a DPO as services, which is appointing a DPO. Maybe the company does not have the person with the right skills right now, you know, and then we can wait to see how the law will develop, how the regulations will develop, and then we'll have a more clear answer if we need or we do not need to appoint a DPO. Meanwhile, it's important to be compliant. So meanwhile, it's either important to see if there's a specific person in your company which fits into those set of skills, you know, need to understand a little bit about regulatory practices, understand a little bit about IT security. So it's a very unique profile or professional, okay? But while maybe if it's not possible to identify this person, a DPO services could be an intermediate solution, and there is even a very structured process that the DPO service can even be a mentor of the future DPO. If, for example, you find a DPO within your company and he is still not, he does not have the set of tools and knowledge in order to exercise his role. Okay, perfect, Patricia. Let's go into the next dilemma. Yep, perfect. Thank you very much. The third dilemma relates to international transfer of personal data. The LGPD was very strict, I think, following the idea of the GDPR regarding the international transfer. Naturally, the international transfer will be allowed in a number, in 7 or 8 specific situations. So it will be a legitimate international transfer if you comply with either alternative 1, 2, 3, 4 until 8. Okay, it's very interesting because the two easier ones, which is the two that really are, how can I say, ready to be implemented, then more likely the companies have it on the shelf, you know, that we could make a check mark to say that it's compliant. Well, maybe it will not work at least for now, you know, because the first one is you can make an international transfer of data to international organizations or countries which provide a level of protection of personal data that is adequate. One more question. It's becoming a little bit of a rhetoric question. Who will, what agency will say which countries or which organizations are compliant with or have a high level of adequacy of compliance? The national authority. Okay. The second one, which is probably a shelf solution as well, and what we call a specific and/or standard contractual clauses, global corporate rules, and regulatory issued stamps. You know, one more time. This shall be detailed by the national authorities, and the law does not provide even a hint of how those safe harbors or safe practice will be into place, you know, the criteria. So right now, where are we right now? What international transfer is allowed? Well, I think we can rely on consent. If we have the consent of the employees, for example, that our back offices, the back office of a company is located in Europe, for example, the back office activities, HR, for example. If we have the consent of the employee, for example, that the data will be transferred to other companies of the group and to other countries, then we are on good grounds. And the second one is if you're, for example, if for the execution of a contract, it's really necessary to implement international transfer of data, then it's allowed. However, legitimacy here can be a little bit of gray area. Okay, so our recommendation is to include in the agreement, in the standard agreement with clients or general terms and conditions that it's important that the data will be processed abroad, and that is really central to the providing or to the services or for the activity itself. So the client will declare, I understand that it's important that you need to transfer this data to another location, and then we can go back here. Okay. Well, the fourth dilemma is a little bit of a difference that we have found within the between the Brazilian law and the GDPR, and now it's actually a dilemma that's actually two dilemmas that's related to data security incidents and data security response. Just like the GDPR, there is an obligation to report in case there is a damage to the data subjects. Once more, our authority, it's probably actually 3 or 4 days ago, they have implemented the website. Of course, there is a place that you can talk with the authority, but most likely, if you knock on their door, probably will not answer right now. Okay, and there is one specific case here that's related to you need to report when an incident may create risk to the data subject. And creating risk, maybe it's not well defined. Probably this will be based on jurisprudence, and jurisprudence not yet in place. So, what is our recommendation in this sense? Okay. Well, can go to the next slide, Patricia. Okay. What to do in case of a security incident? How to implement a data breach response plan? Well, our recommendation, if we're talking only about the risk, and I think Cristiano will be able to, and Cristiano and Sebastian will be able to talk about that. Well, it's really, really recommended to maintain at least a very precise log, a very precise register of the risks in which the data subjects were exposed to, while we do not have a clear definition of the law. And of course, this will be, I think, this will be more. We try not to bring very open questions over here, but I think in this case, it's most likely it will be a case-by-case analysis based on the risk that the data subject is subject to. Okay, I think that were the four main dilemmas, and I hope this has given a little bit of more concrete what challenge we are facing right now. And thank you very much for the opportunity to share with you our ideas here. Thank you.
Thank you, Vinicius, for your excellent approach. Although for sure digital law has already been some important developments in Brazil, especially due to this new data protection law that we're listening a little bit more today. We still have so much to learn from Europe, especially when we talk about cybersecurity and BCM, which means business continuity management. It is a pleasure right now to hand on the word for Bastian Schnunenbeck, our senior associate at Rödl & Partner Germany. Bastian is one of our global specialists working in the area of digital risks and compliance. Bastian, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you for the warm introduction, Patricia, and also from me a warm hello to all viewers. And now let's extend our topic, now that you know a lot about data protection. And well, since pretty much all companies in 2020 are processing digital data at some point, you would probably agree with me that we are all kind of digital companies. So since we process a lot of important data in our companies besides or on top of personal data, it is essential to be cyber secure. So how can cybersecurity be combined with the already mandatory requirements of data protection? How can we at Rödl & Partner help you with your digital fit in cybersecurity? Now skip. Well, basically behind the term cybersecurity is the following. Protecting all of your company's digital data against attack, misuse, or loss is cybersecurity. Within cybersecurity, there are different disciplines. For example, the also known data protection, shown here in green, is a legal requirement to protect personal data, as you know now. Information security, shown here in red, protects not only personal data, but all your digital assets. And also your data crown jewels, like I'd like to say. For banks, this can be transaction data, it can be product secrets, recipes, or financial data as well. Both disciplines, I mean data protection and information security, make use of IT security measures, here shown in pink. Both your data crown jewels and personal data must not lost at all the time. This is pretty clear. Your company must ensure the data protection of this data all the time. A system failure would be fatal. A hacker attack would be a real threat. However, should an unforeseen event occur, you need a concept for how your company will continue to function despite the incident or data breach. How your system will work again despite a hacker attack, and how you will ensure that your data remains intact. And how to say, to ensure that, you need business continuity management. Yes, shown here in yellow. So you can see that cybersecurity is not just about data protection or information security, or just applying IT security measures. It's the, like I say, the interplay of all the disciplines that we face in the digital universe 2020 as a business. And if you don't think that cybersecurity is one of the most important business disciplines in this decade, you really need to start rethinking now. Because in the digital age, we as business owners, we must ensure that our data is confidential, available, and integrity all the time. And cybersecurity in the universe of cybersecurity ensures that these protection goals can be met. So you may be asking yourself, why all this effort? Is it really important? Is it really necessary to do all this? And the answer is quite simple. Yes, it's necessary because the threat is real. Cybercrime exists. It happened all the time, 24 hours, 365 days per year. Basically, as you heard today with Google. And so have a look at that quote. Robert S. Mueller, the former FBI director, is absolutely right when he says that it's only a matter of time before every company in the world becomes a victim of hacker attacks. So this also proven by some, unfortunately, not so nice facts. Let's take a short look at the second fact from below, for example. You can see 4.1 billion records were compromised in the first half of 2019. This is absolutely frightening. And some of our clients at Rödl and partner here in Germany have also experienced this, not only one, more than one. But for example, I have a game publisher as a client whose user data and login details were attacked by a hacker through a tiny, like a tiny security hole in the web shop system. And a ransom hostage message was left on the client systems. Hostage message means that the attacker said, I have your data as a hostage and I want your money to give it back. So it's a clearly financial motivated crime. Fortunately, with the help of our cyber crime forensics team and the client's otherwise almost 95% good cybersecurity measures and the functional business continuity management, the case was solved without paying money or getting clients' data lost into darknet or anywhere else. So according to and on top of that, according to an estimate sheet by Interpol, the costs of cybersecurity will be $6 trillion worldwide by 2021. And in the US, average each data breach caused by cyber attack has a cost on average of $3.92 million. And the worst thing is that the Corona crisis and the resulting measures taken by companies only intensive the attacks. The Home Office makes end-to-end cybersecurity hardly possible anymore, or it is not possible anymore. Phishing and malware attacks have increased in the 3-digit percentage range. This is a lot, and this is absolutely frightening. Perhaps you know someone or a company that has been hit by any of these attacks. So this is why you clearly must accept there is no discussion. Your company faces massive risks from cybercrime. Just try to imagine that a cyber attack brings your company down. You can no longer generate revenues. If data is then stolen, you not only have a financial risk, but your reputation also suffers. It's pretty clear. For me, it's pretty clear. Furthermore, you have obviously violated your due diligence and not complied with the measures required by law. And as you can see here, you're facing massive cybercrime risks. But the good news is, at the same time, every risk always contains an opportunity. And using these opportunities as a chance to become digital fit is the key to success. So the question is, what you should do now? I think you need to check your current status quo of your cybersecurity. Have you, as you can see here, the seven points, have you already implemented the measures listed here? I give you some time to read the 7 measures. And I would say then, well done. But if you are new to terms like information security risk management or risk analysis or incident response management or roles and rights concepts, then you really have to act now. And we at Rödl & Partner, not only here at Rödl & Partner in Germany, as you heard, we have some specialists in Italy and all over Europe and in Brazil, South America as well. We here at Rödl & Partner help you to implement your cybersecurity. Can you switch, Patricia? And our method works by first conducting a risk assessment and status quo to directly identify potential risks. Then we build your individual security management system based on existing measures, which we will lead to a business continuity management and protect your company from financial, strategic, compliance, and reputational risk. We review documents, listen to you, we review your system. So it's very close, the same method mentioned by my colleague Nadia Martini before. And here's just a brief overview of the contents of risk assessment. In the risk assessment, we first define your information assets. Information assets can be all of your data. This includes also personal data. So risks are identified, strategy concepts are developed in step 3, and finally, the risk treatment plan is designed. The risk assessment forms like the base for all further measures of further measures of the cybersecurity management. And we then look to the individual processes and define protection requirements for your essential business processes, which are secured by incident management. And by the way, what exactly incident management or any of these other measures is too much for this brief overview. If you want to know more, you can contact us later, you can contact us at any time for a deeper dive. But to go on, measures like network security or the introduction of banal guidelines like password policy or the allowed use of IT in your business are as relevant as the creation of backup concepts or role and rights concepts. We want to control your digital access and only let those in who are allowed to come in. But anyway, we also need to set a focus on physical security. Buildings, rooms, servers, and accesses must not be considered as well. And finally, we train your employees and ensure that they are noticed at all levels of your company. So we try to bring awareness of all the terms we heard about of data protection, cybersecurity, and IT security measures to your whole company and to all employees. So business continuity management, so you can switch at Rödl & Partner, you will benefit from like many projects we have already carried out. Therefore, we can also provide you with templates and kind of benchmark documents, which we have created based on our experience the last few years. So to start with business continuity management, alone business continuity management usually compromises between 5 to 20 concepts and documents. And we bring these along as a guide for you, as you can see here. With our guide, you are alone able to document your business continuity management, starting with the BCM policy, which you can see here. And the BCM policy defines the basic objectives and requirements. the business impact analysis of your processes, which allows you to identify exactly which process need to be restarted first and how we need to prioritize them, is incident management, which allows us to define a strategy for internal and external communication or technical security measures or incident management by individual incidents. For example, as you can see here, we have a emergency plan for fire, we have an emergency plan for power failure, we have an emergency plan for pandemic. This means how can we make sure that you are prepared for a suddenly shutdown? How can we manage your business process remote as best as possible? And how do we manage your IT if every IT employee is infected by a virus? Or an emergency plan for hacker attacks. So this all is the like the business continuity management guide, which we can provide for you, just as an example. And the most important thing that you should understand is that cybersecurity management and also data protection is not just a project. It's a living process, which must be lived continuously by you and your company. Measures must be continuously reviewed, adjusted, and also measured all the time. This is what we call Plan, Do, Check, Act. And this is why it is so powerful, because you integrate your cybersecurity as a living process into your core business. And after that, then you are well prepared for the digital age. Then you are digital fit. Thank you for listening, and stay in a good health. I know this is a lot of stuff, a lot to understand, and on top of data protection, it's a lot of content. But be sure this is just a brief overview, and if you want a deeper dive, we can have a next presentation in a slightly slower move. So don't worry about that.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Bastian, for these great insights. For sure, it's gonna be available for all participants, our presentation, and also all the questions we received, we were gonna answer and deliver to you. And now I welcome my colleague, Cristiano Alequim. He is the head of IT here in Brazil, and he's gonna present a little bit more about the Brazilian perspective. Cristiano, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you very much. Thank you all the audience. Just for a start, I just want to go back for the news that Philipp talked at the beginning. Actually, I have a New York Times report here that say it's one of the more sophisticated and perhaps the largest hacks in the more than 5 years. So they have access to some emails, the Treasury Department, and some Commerce Department. So was huge. So they have a lot of confidential data there. It's really hard to know how was leaky or not. But it's important. For the Google ones, for the server ones, it looked like a DDoS attack. They don't mention anything because it's really was in this morning, so they don't send so much information. But it looks like a DDoS attack. But for sure, it's one sure that if Google have problems with the cyber attacks, can you imagine small or medium companies that is our clients or targets, for example? It's real. As Bastian have a good speech, it's really real, the cyber attacks, this cyber pandemic situation. So you can go to my slides, Patricia. You can go to the next one, please. For the Brazilian perspective of the cyber attacks and the cybersecurity, we can talk because it's really a hot topic here in Brazil also. We have this one firm integrated. We have a good speakers from Italy and Germany, for example, in Brazil. That's Vinicio, Nadia, and Bastian. Because we work together, it's really important. And we talk to Brazil. We are included in the cybersecurity scenario because we are one of the most countries targets for the cyber attacks. And it's clear because, for example, if we choose a city, for example, for attack, in São Paulo we have more than 12 million people here. So it's bigger than some countries in South America. So because of that, for sure, we have more this kind of cyber attacks. And of course, Brazil started this laws, this protection environment in 2014. We have some laws here in Brazil, that protection laws and protecting users. But now with LGBT, we go to the next level. For sure, we can show more transparency for another countries, for example, to transfer data, for example. It's really, really nice. I believe that the future of Brazil regarding the cybersecurity will be great. Yeah, go to the next one, please. So this is interesting because the pandemic will disappear for sure. Maybe we have a vaccine, maybe we have another solution for the corona situation, for example. Maybe we have another pandemic in the future, but for sure, the cyber effects will not change. We from IT, our perspective from the virus or the IT virus is the same that the coronavirus. We have the same kind of similar treatment, you know. It's for us, it's not so much new that we need to handle with the kind of threats. For example, we need to think now in the future, maybe in hygiene. You talk to clean our hands and clean our body. That we need to clean our data also. We need to have the right data, as Nadia said. We need to collect only the data that we need to collect. This is really important. Can go. So one of these effects is home office, for example. It's a big topic of this change. Everyone's work at home. In the past, I used to say that we have 3 offices in Brazil. Now we have almost 100 offices in Brazil. So each one that work at home now is an IT guy. Need to have this awareness about security. This need to have this thinking that all device connecting this network, it's a threat, or it's a device that you need to gain attention, you know. You can go with this, thanks. So this is important. This is a new scenario. I know this picture is really nice. I believe that it's not the common one. This is not a common one, I believe. It's a lot of meeting everyone, or maybe this one. We need to handle noise. It's a new kind of scenario. Let's keep dreaming. This is a new one, this beautiful one. But it's a reality that we need to face. We change our way of work. We change our way of protecting data. It's because of that we need a new IT. We need a new thinking of the guys that taking care of your technology in the company. Patricia will show the next slide. The IT is not more this nerd guys that's behind the computer, behind the computer with the closed doors, close to the servers, in the cold room. We are not this kind of guys. Of course, we are nerd. We're not still nerds, of course. We like Star Wars, but now we need to have a new thinking. You know, we need to have a global business perspective, least perspective of the business. Also, we need to get more close to the people. Bastian talked about the training. We need to train the people. We need to have this open door policies in the IT. The people need to come to look. I have some suspicion of this email. We need to train people. We need to get close to the people. We need to respect all the privacies and user privacy. We need to be more transparency. We need to be transparency in Brazil to send data to Germany to respond to the data breach. It's really important that the IT have this new kind of thinking. I know that a lot of companies have outsourcing IT, but they need to respect our business. They need to respect this new kind of scenario, this new kind of threats, this new kind of cyber pandemic situation. They need to have some more knowledge about the people and technology, because it's not technology. Technology is only a tool. It's also people. We need to train the people. We need to use better the tools. We need to stay really, really close to the people. And of course, we need to monitoring. This is one of the hot topics that Bastian brings. I just bring some tools that just to explain that you can have a tool, a super nice, very tool with graphics. For example, this one is for the LGPD, control all the data. You can see the flow, but also you can control in Excel, for example. I have an Excel image here. Of course, it's a little more work, manual work. We use a tool, for example, here. But it's important to have this kind of control and monitoring. It's really important for the future, for sure. So this one of product that we have here in Rödl partner, we are a digital champion in Germany, and also in Brazil we have all the standards that we have in Germany. We also the blue blueprint for a lot of initiatives that we have in IT here. I know we respect all the compliance measures that we have in Germany, but we also keep improving in Brazil, because Brazil is a country that have a lot of possibilities to improve. We have good vendors, we have good technology here, we can import everything. It's really nice to work in Brazil. But actually, we have this product, it's the CTO, this Chief of Transformation Office, that we have some clients that is not prepared for the future, is not prepared for this transformation. So these are real digital transformation. So we have one guy that can jump in and measure all the IT close to another areas and really get this transformation, make this transformation real. In each area, it's a legal one, it's a BPO, we can maintain our core of knowledge and bring some digital solutions, some digital thinking, some digital trainings, because we need to train people to get this new area, this new pandemic area. So it's more or less that I want to talk, Patricia. We are run of time, of course. Maybe we have a Q&A. And thank everyone. Thank you for the question. Let's keep safe. Let's keep healthy. Let's work in digital way. Thanks.
Thank you, Cristiano. Thank you all for the participation. I know we don't have a lot of time, we just have 5 minutes. That's why I chose one question to do for Bastian. And Bastian, I will do this question for you. And the other questions that we don't answer today, we're gonna maintain all the answers and send for all participants. Bastian, recently, a lot of companies suffer from cyber attacks that compromised and destabilized the entire system. Some companies also had to work offline for a few days to ensure that all files and systems were in a good stand. For this case, what a company must do to ensure a good and recovery system in case of a cyber attack?
It's not easy to answer the question just with one answer. I know that if your company suffered due to hacker attacks and due to any of the shutdown compromises and risks, but what do you have to do to answer your question? You need to status quo your IT now. You need to check all the defense processes you already implement, and you need to check how are you prepared in case of a hacker. You need to train the situation. You need to maybe do a dry run. Maybe try to let's roll out your concept if you have a concept. If you don't have a concept for your business continuity, then just try to write a concept. And mostly that's it. But it's as I said, it's not easy to answer with just one. It's not an exercise of one. It's more a step-by-step exercise. So maybe if you're interested in parts of these, feel free to contact us, and I will explain you more about the details you need to do.
Thank you, Bastian, especially for the military. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, I had to switch off the camera because at my side here, it's all the time a connection failure. So
don't worry, you are here with us. No worries. I have one more question from Klaus. Thank you very much for this question, Klaus. And I'll address not only for Bastian but also for Cristiano. So you may choose who do you prefer to answer this one. How can I find out in my company notebook and also on my private smart equipments, MacBook, iPad, iPhone, whether I have been victim of a phishing attack? That's the first question. And then, does standard antivirus protection software reliably protect me, even if I have opened files annexed to suspicious emails?
I'd like to answer the second question, the antivirus question. Normally, I need to know who are you? I mean, are you talking as a private person with your private laptop? Then I would say it's okay to have a normal and standard antivirus system. If you're talking as a business, it's not enough. It's way not enough. As a business, you need to have an antivirus concept. That means not only to have an antivirus program or an antivirus system. This is a lot more. You need to protect your like Wi-Fi connection access points. You need to protect each of your computers and laptops. You need to protect your firewall and your outgoing internet connection. So this is way more than a standard antivirus program. But if you ask me this question as a private person, it's enough to have a standard system. But on top of that, be aware. The good hackers in 2020 know how to get behind those doors. And so yeah, always be aware of attached files on emails, like the standard things. Yeah. And Cristiano, I would like to give you
Great.
First question.
Just was perfect your answer. Just to add, some phishing, some malicious softwares are working in silence. You know, sometimes I have company that have 1 year the virus inside working and no one knows. So it's so much important that these monitoring tools. Here, for example, in Rödl Partner, we have a monitoring tools. It's a real-time monitoring. Any strange behavior they catch. So they call it, look, Chris, you have one machine with a strange behavior, please put out the network, let's do some cyber measures to this machine. So it's really important that the company have some extra measures. As Bastian said, it's not it's a private one, it's okay, you can protect, it's less dangerous, let's say it that way. But for the company, you can infect the whole company, for example, with one email. It's really important to have this real-time monitoring. It's really important to have this kind of control, for sure.
Great, Cristiano and Bastian. Thank you very much for your answers. Unfortunately, our time is up. What I'm checking right now, and for sure we're gonna answer all the questions after the webinar. I thank you very much for the presentation of all panelists and also for all of you that have been here hearing us. And for sure, have a nice holidays, have a nice year end, and bless you all, stay safe. And if you have any questions, you have all our contacts here. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank you very much for the opportunity of being here and sharing those experiences. It was very nice. Thank you very much, everyone.
And you, thank you so much.
Perfect, thank you.